I want to start this episode by asking you a question. Do you know anything about the Persian Empire? If you answered yes, then you can be proud of yourself, as that knowledge is not common among the majority of Europeans. In fact, there is nothing to be ashamed of, as our education systems often overlook this subject. Worse, they do not even mention this remarkable civilization. This is a significant issue. The Middle East was the cradle of organized human societies, boasting a rich history that is fundamentally intertwined with our own. It is imperative that we study it. While Europe was populated by nomadic tribes, the Middle East was already the stage for the rise and fall of numerous empires, each with intricate bureaucracies and vibrant cultures. Among these, one unique empire stood out for its immense size, remarkable durability, and sophisticated organization. So renowned that we have all heard of it at least once, the Persian Empire.
Have you wondered how you could have found such a treasure?
My name is Bogdan Medunitsa, you're on the channel Lamanosov, and today we will delve into the Persian Empire under the Achaemenid dynasty. An interesting fact that highlights the antiquity of Middle Eastern civilizations is that by the time the Persian Empire was founded, approximately 2,000 years had already passed since the establishment of the first empire in the region, and thus in human history. According to Persian mythology, the Achaemenid dynasty was founded in the 8th century BC by a figure named Achaemenes. Initially, the Achaemenids were a family of local governors in Iranian regions, ruling under the sovereignty of the Median Empire. The power of this family quickly began to grow, extending its influence throughout the surrounding Iranian regions. As the power of this family continued to expand, a new successor came to power, Cyrus II, better known as Cyrus the Great. He had a different vision for his divine mission. Iran was no longer to be viewed as a mere province of the Median Empire, but rather as an independent country. This stance was logically unacceptable for the Medes, leading to inevitable clashes. Persia emerged victorious from these conflicts. Initially, this allowed Persians to extend their influence to foreign regions such as Babylonia and Lydia. But not only were the Medes unable to repel their enemy, a growing fear also emerged that they would be overthrown. At this point, the Medes shifted from a repressive stance to a more defensive posture regarding the Achaemenids. This change, however, proved futile. In 553 BC, the Median Empire was defeated, and henceforth the Persians ruled over the Mesopotamian regions of the former Median Kingdom. Yet, ruling is not solely a matter of power, it is a more versatile art. Here, Cyrus II excelled. He was a genius in his field, adept at effectively managing diverse populations. Just imagine, you were given the task to manage a large group of people. If it is still possible to use force on smaller groups by sending policies to ensure people follow your orders, you can easily see that with a slightly bigger group, it is not. People would contest your legitimacy, not understanding why they should obey you except to avoid punishment. You would constantly be fighting to stay in power and every part of society would try to break away from your influence. No, you need to reverse this situation so that each group works for you, not against you. To achieve that, you will need to provide those people with at least some sort of justification. But even simple, rational arguments wouldn't be enough. You would need to make those people deeply motivated, to create a passion in them, making them believe they are working and fighting for the right cause. You will need to ingrain shared values in society until they become unquestionable beliefs, a sort of undeniable truth in their eyes. On the scale of a state, you would need to make sure that in times of crisis and instability, people would rather choose to give their lives for the glory of these values than try to join the enemy. And this is exactly what Cyrus did. This leader formulated a common ideology and identified the general interest that would arise from the union of all these various nations. The prevailing values were liberty and tolerance. By joining the Persian Empire, people would be guaranteed the right to live according to their own beliefs and were not compelled to assimilate into Persian culture. In contrast, this was absolutely not the case in other neighboring empires like Greece. These values so deeply ingrained in society that they became uncontestable beliefs, akin to democracy today or Christianity in the recent past. People now had a shared objective to aspire to. Cyrus was soon succeeded by another pivotal figure of the Achaemenid dynasty, Darius I, also known as Darius the Great. He inherited a vast empire that spanned the entire Middle East, encompassing a spiritually united population of 7 different nations, united since the governmental achievements of Cyrus. However, what the empire lacked was organization. It needed precise rules to ensure the uniformity of procedures, because at this point, the functioning of the empire was kind of archaic. The progress of procedures was established by custom. And at this point, it was more like an extended crowd working to achieve a common objective than a precisely structured country. And the emperor had more of a political and spiritual influence than official power. Legislating would therefore have the side effect of reinforcing and perpetuating imperial power. Darius introduced a series of crucial reforms across various fields. He began by reforming administration. Governing an expansive empire of about 8 million square kilometers required an extended bureaucracy. Darius addressed this special challenge by dividing the territory into 20 satrapies, provinces, each led by a select group of individuals chosen from the local elite. This administrative network was complemented by a web of governmental agents tasked with surveillance. These spies and royal secretaries were monitoring local governors to prevent them from amassing an unreasonable amount of power. They also kept an eye on citizens to thwart revolutionary movements. Administrative modernization also included the construction of royal roads that linked different parts of the empire. These roads reduced travel time across the empire, ensuring that imperial orders were received promptly. This infrastructure also encouraged people to travel, thereby increasing the exchange of goods and knowledge. This brings us to the next field where Darius's leadership shone, the economy. Recognizing the sudden increase of exchanges, Darius promptly secured future commercial routes by establishing a series of military camps. He also skillfully adapted economic policies to prevent overtaxation and capitalize on the rise of commercial activities. Another major area of reforms was law. Henceforth, two jurisdictional levels coexisted: imperial law and provincial law, with the latter varying from one locality to another. Here too we can see the dilemma of ruling by force versus using softer methods to ensure the support of local communities. Because if you give too much power to provincial law, you will lose your own. On the other hand, not allowing enough autonomy would contradict Persian values of tolerance, leading to the same consequences. For example, in Babylonia, a system called Law of the King was introduced, inspired by a similar system used in the Babylonian Empire. This allowed judges to request the emperor to deliver a legal solution to a single dispute, meaning that Babylonian law was often applied retroactively. This better suited the Babylonian legalist traditions than a comprehensive and restrictive codification, making it more likely to be respected. To reformulate it in a more accessible way to people who aren't law specialists, in this specific province, the law wasn't clearly established before a dispute arose. Rules were precisely formulated by the emperor only once the disagreement appeared. Still, people had a vague idea of these rules because imperial decisions were based on local customs. To explain it in simpler terms, imagine you're driving a car and there are no set traffic laws, no speed limits, no written rules. You're cautiously driving on a winding mountain road when suddenly another car comes out of nowhere, speeding like crazy. You both get into an accident. And let's say this person was also drunk. Now your car's all banged up and you want them to pay for the damage, so you take them to court. At this point, you don't know exactly how much you'll get because there aren't any written rules. But you do know by custom that drunk driving is a big no-no. You also remember that 2 years ago, the emperor ruled that anyone who causes an accident while drunk has to pay $1,000 to the victim. What you don't know is how much you'll get for the fact that this person was also speeding. After the emperor makes a decision, you end up getting an extra $500 for the speeding. And from that point on, anyone who causes an accident by speeding will have to pay $500. The vitality of the empire was embodied in major architectural and artistic achievements of the time. Art truly flourished under Darius's reign. To illustrate this, we can look at the magnificent palaces of Persepolis and Susa. Not only were they adorned with beautiful stone reliefs and carvings, but they were also technological marvels. In Persepolis, the Persians managed to integrate a complex system of irrigation and pools, despite the city's location in the middle of a desert. In summary, Darius contributed significantly to the zenith of the empire, primarily through his major social innovations that ensured both stability and the satisfaction of its inhabitants. There was a profoundly liberal atmosphere. Women enjoyed near equality with men, and the economy was robust. Although the empire reached its territorial peak only after Darius's reign, it never again achieved the same level of stability. Following Darius's departure, the empire began a gradual decline, marked by successive military defeats and increasing internal insecurity. The empire began to collapse because the emperors who succeeded Darius were not as talented as their predecessors. As often happens, successful parents raise spoiled children. Lacking effective rhetoric and more concerned with their own gratification than with the effective governance of the country, they failed to maintain the empire's stability. Meanwhile, rich became richer and lived in luxury, while average citizens faced increasingly harsher conditions. A growing distance emerged between local communities and their governors, and corruption was on the rise. In this political context, people logically found little incentive to remain united with the Persians. The unique spirit that had emerged under Cyrus's reign, which had provided a shared objective to aspire to, vanished. Consequently, separatist movements began to grow. In this unstable environment, Greece saw an opportunity to overthrow the Persians. Led by Alexander the Great of Macedonia, the Greeks launched an assault on the declining and faltering empire. As they advanced, each liberated community joined the Greeks, causing their army to swell, while Persians weakened. Securing an easy victory, the Greeks defeated the Achaemenid Empire in 330 BC with the death of Darius III. The history of the Persian Empire is a highly relevant cultural subject because it offers an intriguing reflection on democracy. Persia is often contrasted with the Greek city-state of Athens. While Athens' political structure was based on democratic principles, this was not formally the case in Persia. However, in Persia, each local community had the right to live according to its own traditions, and even though there was no formal elections, the empire was in practice profoundly democratic.